Hello everyone, welcome to the East. I think I've got something a little interesting cooked up for y'all today. Everyone seems to be liking the voiceover videos, so I've got another one of those coming in hot and ready for you. If you can't tell from the other one, I don't plan any of this voiceover out. I'm not a script person. I don't like typing everything out beforehand. I just kind of load in and go. So we're in the East today. We're playing as a Georgian. We're playing as an apostolic. And what are we going to try and do? We're going to try and bolster the apostolic faith, kind of consolidate the Caucasus mountain region, and see what we can do over here as far as combating the Byzantine Orthodox conglomerate that's to our west, and combating the Sunni Caliphate that is to our immediate south. We took an alliance with Abkhazia, the Duke to our north, because the first thing that we need to do is to try and consolidate the independent little apostolic dudes that are around us before they get absorbed into the caliphate. And we don't really want to have to be worrying about him right now. And the Duke is also really old, so as soon as he dies, we can just declare war on him. We're playing as a custom character, but it's nothing special. Really just a stewardship spec character with a couple health bonuses that also give you stewardship, like being temperate, I believe is one that we have, and I might have started with the athletic trait. I honestly don't remember anymore, but that's why starting as a custom character with stewardship can be so ridiculously overpowered, because you can stack enough health bonuses while also stacking stewardship that you can just kind of get both for the price of one. We've already won our first war, we already have our son and heir, and what I'm going to be doing for the next long time here is building a lot of buildings. We're stewardship spec'd because we're gonna have to play tall. We can't really play wide because there's not a lot of avenues for us to expand. The first few wars here, super easy because it's really difficult for a lot of the smaller apostolic principalities to get any big alliances. Nobody in the immediate vicinity really wants to ally them. So we just fabricate our claims. We march in with our ally, and it's super easy. Another great thing about having high stewardship, we get to keep all of this land for ourselves, we get to develop it, we get to take the profits directly. It doesn't have to go through any vassal intermediaries or anything like that, at least not yet. So for now, we're just keeping it under our control and kind of wrapping around the Armenian principalities that are a vassal of the Caliphate at the start. So they are an Armenian kingdom that don't have any de jure lands. They aren't the Kingdom of Armenia, they're the Armenian principalities, so it's really weird. But something very interesting happens to the Armenian principalities in this playthrough, so you'll just have to stay tuned and see what that is. But yeah, lots of hill farms everywhere. We have one castle that's in a plains that's along the coastline, so we're building lots of farms and fields. The castle is a lot of pastoral lands. He got imprisoned by the Caliphate. This is the king of the Armenian principalities. And oh, pay attention. Did you see it? Did you see it? He's not apostolic anymore. He got imprisoned because he rebelled and then was converted to Ashari Muslim. So our Armenian principalities, while they are still Armenian, they aren't Christian anymore. So that, in this playthrough, as a character that's trying to unite Georgia, Armenia, and the immediate surrounding area, part of the Caucasus Mountains, having a non-apostolic Armenian principalities doesn't really sit very well with us. The next goal that we're trying to get towards is forming the Kingdom of Georgia, which eventually we're going to need to declare war on our ally for. Something really interesting that just happened on screen, if you have been following along with what you're seeing and not what I'm saying, we did just have a bastard son with a lover that had the intelligent trait, and since we ourselves have the quick trait, our son became intelligent. So naturally, since our first child is really bad, he's lisp, he has a lisp and he wants to be a diplomacy focus, which those two things just don't really mix when you think about it. So I went ahead, I legitimized this intelligent son, and I was planning on disinheriting the first son once I had raised the second son to make sure that he actually turns out to be a good character. So we're just kind of waiting for that to happen. Here's the first son. He is temperate, which is good. He's ambitious, which is good. He's impatient, which is like, eh. I included this event in there because I feel like I never see the impatient trait. ever. I don't know. I saw that trait, and I knew it was a trait in the game. I wasn't taken off guard by it, but I clicked on it and I was like, I don't really know what this does because I've never seen it before. But I don't know. We have a son that's intelligent, which is just +3 in every stat, so, and a bonus to percentage lifestyle points, so why wouldn't we want that son over the first son, which isn't really anything special? So that's why we're planning on disinheriting him at this point in time. Our old ally kicked the bucket, so now we get to declare war on his son. Like great and loyal friends that we were. At one point we actually did become the guy's friend. So as soon as I got the pop-up that he died though, I immediately declared war on his son. Like, sorry, was friends with you does not mean that I'm friends with your son. The battles are super easy. Our troops aren't really good quality, neither are our men-at-arms. We have some really cheap men-at-arms besides the pikemen. But other than that, we just have archers, light footmen, and we're really relying on sheer quantity at this point to get by. So we won this first war easy peasy though, but now that we've backstabbed our only ally, it's really just us, and the Caliph can come for us at any point in time, and he's really big. He has like 8,000 soldiers, so. I also keep having more sons. This one's also quick, so he's again already better than the first son that we had. My good son, Ushisha, became pensive, so we were able to set him up for a learning education because I wanted him to do a lot of converting. Because in the background, whenever we can, I have been converting a lot of these provinces. I did get a claim on all of Abkhazia to our north, so for this next war, instead of just nicking off Guria, I was able to subjugate him, steal his duchy, and take all of his land. Very, very, very nice. You know, same tactic, we march into the plains, we wait for him, we fight him, we go in, we siege. Wait for him to siege down our mountain fort so we get defending in the mountains, which I think this might be a bold statement here. This might be a hot take, but I feel like if you're retreating away from a siege and you get attacked, you shouldn't be the attacker in that. Since you aren't actively sieging anymore, you're retreating. Like if you've just clicked off of it, I think it's fine, but if you're locked into movement to another tile from that, maybe you shouldn't get the defender bonus anymore. Because that just seems kind of strange to me. I don't know. I get when you're sieging why you would get that, but if you're moving away from the castle, why do you still get the attacker penalty? Kind of strange. Anyways, moving on to bigger and better things, like creating the Kingdom of Georgia. Even though we are in the same culture group as Greek, we don't get the Greek title names. Like when I form the kingdom, I'm not a despot or a despo, however it's pronounced. I'm just the king of Georgia. Now, we have had some raiders coming down from the steppes up here over the mountains. So what exactly am I going to do about it? I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a little buffer duchy to try and make the duke of whatever tribes I wind up propping up here deal with the raiders and not me. And while I do that, and while that's on screen, I'm going to clown on myself a little bit because I just recorded like another 5 minutes of this voiceover already once and wasn't actually recording because I pressed the playback button on my editing software, not the record button on my editing software. So, you know, the trials and tribulations of venturing into a territory that I am not really familiar with and doing this editing and voiceover work and whatnot. Anyways, the first war was easy, although it did pull us into a defensive war that I didn't realize was going on at first until I was already marching straight into this hostile army. We were so close to getting that siege, but we got caught and we lost to the cavalry in the open terrain. Who would have guessed? The Georgian military is not really meant for fighting the steppe hordes in the open terrain. Wow, crazy. I know, right? It's wild. Anyways, head back south and run, try and accumulate enough war score to get a white piece so that we don't have to surrender and fork over bags of gold, which thankfully, due to the taking war score, because they never stopped to actually siege anything, I was able to do in the middle of this battle before we lost even more war score. There is 2 more little one province guys up here that we're gonna do county holy wars for, so that we can just nip in and grab those really quickly. What I was doing there is checking to see if there were any more Tengri chiefs around that could potentially join the war, but these guys were a different faith from everybody that was surrounding them, so thankfully we didn't have to deal with any really, really large hordes getting involved and defending these little miners that we're conquering right now. These wars, super, super easy. Again, so in the background, while I'm sieging, I'm just popping over and building even more buildings, upgrading all of the economy buildings first, and then after that, building fortifications. And then after the fortifications, I am building military buildings, like barracks, things like that. My plan with building all of the barracks was to eventually swap over my light infantry over to heavy infantry to capitalize on the percentage bonus to them that you get from the barracks, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I ever actually did that. So don't be me. If you build a bunch of buildings to max out combat ability on one specific type of men-at-arms, make sure you actually build that specific men-at-arms. Don't be running around with light infantry with a bunch of barracks. Not good. We just managed to reinforce this battle in time. I just kind of declared the war and sent in all of the 4 separate stacks without really paying attention and almost got punished for it, but thankfully didn't. I was just in time on the reinforce. So we won this war after the siege. Wrap up conquering this duchy. It's not enough to form a kingdom or anything up here by any means, and it's outside of our de jure kingdom, so I don't really care about who owns it, so I set up one of my sons up there, just so that he doesn't inherit anything actually important when I die. Now, taking a peek at the Abbasids to our south, they've got like 20,000 men, and we don't. We have like 3,500 and no allies. So we need to keep frantically building and hoping that they're unstable enough internally that they're never able to just declare a holy war for my capital duchy, because that would really suck. My first son died. Now this is really important. My first son was maimed. He lost an arm. He lost an arm, I guess, even though he doesn't... Is there a one-armed trait? He has the one-eyed trait. He at least lost an eye. So, but it looks like he lost an arm. He died of that wound, which left his son, who is a leper, as my heir, because I didn't disinherit my son before he died. So I immediately start educating his second son, and my plan now is to disinherit the leper first son of my first son. All of the first sons in this playthrough are just not great. Like, spoiler alert, if anybody's a first son of anybody, they're garbage characters. And we're just going to have to deal with that. Thank God we're stockpiling renown because we're a king. So we can just go through and disinherit all the people that we don't want to play as. My second son that I wanted to play as is still in line to inherit some of our lands. So they're going to get split between our grandson and our son. There's a quick peek of the religion map mode. The Armenian principalities are just being really, really annoying. And as I was looking, lo and behold, the Abbasids exploded. The Abbasids dissolved. So I was like, great, this is my chance. I can scoop in, get this massive duchy here from the Armenian principalities. The borders will look a little ugly, but that's okay. We can usurp the rightful title of King of Armenia. We can try and form that. Everything is going great. I dip out. I declare war, and did you see the mistake that I made? Vote now on your phones. What was my mistake? That's right, I declared war for the wrong duchy. I declared war for the Duchy of Georgia, of which we will get one province. Very nice. I don't realize this at this time, though, and when I do, I get very, very sad. At this point, my primary heir, my first son's second son, got pneumonia, so I started educating his third son, Kvarkvar, just in case he died, and lo and behold, he died. So now we have a paranoid, honest player heir named Kvarkvar, which is a really funny name, I think. I'm a huge fan of it, but this character sucks. I hate paranoid and I hate honest because you can't live in CK3 with these traits without gaining stress. There are no event options available to you that don't stress your character to the max. Just being alive in the 10th century is enough to send these people off the cliff, okay? Like, playing as these characters is not good. It's not a fun time. I mean, we're absolutely trouncing the Armenian principalities here, which, you know, after this, of course, they're going to build up and get a lot stronger and get 10,000 allies. Here is where I realize, you see me staring, I'm like, that's not a lot of blue. That's just one province. Yep, we just got the one province. Unfortunate. Then the first son of my first son, the one that we disinherited, got smallpox, so now he has leprosy and smallpox, and he's just really not doing so hot, and then he died. So let's just take a count real quick. My first son died. He lost an eye, he lost an arm, and then died. My first son's first and second sons died. My wife died. My daughter just died. Everybody around this guy is dying. Everything is not going according to plan. Kvarkafar became a 3-star martial character, though, with a robust trait, so he's not bad. I married him off to an intelligent woman to hopefully get some nice traits, and we started trying to declare some holy wars on the now independent duchies that were formerly part of the Abbasid Caliphate. But this is where things got just really, really difficult in this playthrough. All of these independent duchies started allying each other, and since, I don't want to fabricate on single counties. That's not how I roll. We're holy warring for duchies or we're doing nothing, right? Then all of the really, really big kingdoms to the east that were also Ashari started joining in all of the holy wars and just trouncing me. Like in this example right here. I was trying to flee to that fort, that castle, so that we could get the additional advantage from the defensive buildings that were there. We only made it halfway, still defending in the hills. My ally Bulgaria is coming in. We're trying to hold out. My army's completely gone by the time the Bulgarians get there. And just look at that men-at-arms list down there. They've got camels. They've got so much heavy infantry. They've got horses. We've got nothing. We've got a few pikemen that are just trying their best and not doing enough. So we wind up surrendering that war and forking over 800 gold to the Yazidids. And now we just kind of had to sit on our hands for a while. I tried killing Prince Murad to break his alliances. He had the Great Pox, and he was just going through it. He was not having a great time, but he was hanging in there, and then it immediately gets discovered. Like, this scheme was like 70%, 80% secrecy or something, and within like 5 days, somebody rats. Like, what is this? He's got the most loyal people around him possible. Thanks to a gift from my son, though, we were able to claw our way out of debt, and then due to a death in one of the little 3 province counties to our immediate east, we were able to start vassalizing all of the remaining apostolic Christian counties, which was really nice. And then randomly, this one province that belongs to the Yazidids right in the middle of Georgia right here just pops out independent all of a sudden. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but then we can immediately vassalize them. So went ahead and did that. I don't know what caused that. It just kind of popped out. Really strange. It wasn't occupied by rebels. It wasn't anything. I don't really know what it was. Our next target, the Marwanids. I took this duchy here because the Duchy of Mesopotamia, because my thought was maybe we want to kind of cut the Byzantines off from declaring war on all of these duchies and expanding where we want to expand, which is to the south. But I don't know. Now, I feel like at this point, this is a good time to comment on something. Could I have sworn fealty to the Byzantines at any point in time during this playthrough? Absolutely. 100% could. Would it have made things easier and guaranteed my security? Yeah, it would have. It would have. But I don't know. I don't think that when our goal is trying to revive a Georgian, Armenian, apostolic, independent kingdom from the ashes, that doing that as just like a subject client state of the Byzantines is as fun? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I definitely think that it would be a lot easier to do this as a vassal of the Byzantines. But it would also kind of limit you in how you can expand via holy war and things like that. So maybe this is better. Maybe swearing fealty is better. I don't know. We would be strong enough to kind of eat away at the Orthodox people in modern day Turkey and in Anatolia, but I don't know, just trying to expand south and not really bothering with the Byzantines seemed a bit more fun at the time. The war for Mesopotamia went really well though. Some of these wars are going okay, like this one, but then out of nowhere, King Andronic decided to kick the bucket while making sure that his succession was in order. Newsflash, it really wasn't. One of my uncles and half-brothers, because some weird marriage thing happened where I wound up marrying a character that had previously been married to my first son or something like that. So now I have half-brothers that are also my uncle, and the family tree is starting to look really, really, really strange, so we're just not going to acknowledge that. Now it's time for King Kvarkvar. King Kvarkvar. Kvarkvar. I don't really know how to properly pronounce it, but it's fun. It's fun to try. So King Kvarkvar's reign was kind of plagued with a few difficulties. In his holy warring to the south, he tried to immediately resume the work that his father was doing in trying to unite Armenia and the surrounding areas under the Apostolic Church, and was kind of getting a little too big for his britches. He was successful in conquering a few areas here and there, but as you'll soon see, all did not go according to plan for Kvarkvar at all, whatsoever. Another issue that I kept running into with this character is a lack of piety to actually declare the holy wars that I wanted to declare. Since I'm only gaining like 0.9, 0.8 per month, I'm having to wait a long time because each one costs 100. And you also have to have a certain level of devotion. So I was able to go on a pilgrimage to get the level of devotion and get enough piety to tide us over for a while. Looking back, I should have just made sure that I took the martial tree trait. It's a level 1 trait. You can take it instantly, called Bellum Justum. Would have sliced the cost of all CBs in half and would have saved me a lot of piety, but in the moment I wasn't thinking about that. I was just charging my way down the chivalry tree like I normally do, taking pit stops in the middle tree, the overseer tree, to get all the control growth ones because they're insanely broken when you're expanding really fast. And I thought we were cruising. Everything's going great, and then I see 5,500 men rounding the corner, coming after me, because the Tahirids decided to intervene in my holy war, even though they are nowhere near. Like, how close do you have to be to intervene in a holy war? I didn't see it in enough time. They were going to catch one of my sieging stacks, so we just had to go ahead and surrender. And look at that. Look at that. I tried to seduce my wife with a 95% chance, and she says no. She said no. We got both of the events that you get for like the bonus chance and whatnot, and we succeeded on both of them. It was still 95-95, and we still got rejected. Unfortunate. Our character just really does not have the charm, I guess. I don't know. Kvarkvar is an interesting character. So we're off on another war. I wish it was against the Armenian principalities, because they're kind of a thorn in our side. And we've started like wrapping around the Armenian principalities in a way that's really strange. I don't know. Another thing that I want to highlight, if you're planning on playing as an apostolic character and doing something similar, is that since the apostolic religion has the communal identities tenet, make absolutely certain that when you're conquering, you are only trying to convert provinces that are your culture. And ideally, you'll only own provinces that are your culture already. You can culture convert them if you want. I don't know, I don't really like having broad, expansive, massive cultures because it kind of dilutes the development and kind of hurts your innovation growth. I like to keep my cultures as small as possible. So when I've been conquering land and giving it out to new vassals, always give it out to a noble of the local culture, because they're going to spawn in as whatever culture the province is, and it's apostolic. So when they try and convert the province, they're not going to have the malices to converting it that you're going to have. So just a little tip there, don't try and convert everything on your own, and don't be afraid to have a realm that's a little decentralized when it comes to cultures. Having a diverse realm is not necessarily a bad thing, especially when your religion has communal identities. Our character finally had a son. The name I knew I wasn't going to be able to pronounce, so I went with an apostolic name, and now we get to call him Philip, and he's really cool. We're going to have King Phil someday. Isn't that so exciting? Also, just threw this in because I thought it was kind of weird. One of my child vassals ratted on 2 people for having an affair. The kid was like 9, and he came running to me and was like, "These people are cheating on their spouses." And I was like, "Thanks for telling me, kid. I don't know how you found this, but sure, yeah. You're just doing your best. Amazing." So kind of wanted to round out our areas to the north. My relative that I gave the duchy to in the Caucasus earlier on was able to wage his own holy war and take the province of Samiran up there, so I wanted to kind of round out the borders and make it look pretty, while once again building up more buildings and checking on the family member, my uncle and half-brother, that took the most profitable lands from me. So I wanted those back. All my vassals seemed to like Kavar, so I was like, I'm going to take it. 50% that he says yes, 50% that we just have to fight this count. He said no, and then like half the realm rose up in rebellion with him. I was really surprised because all of the characters that rebelled liked me and they weren't in factions, as far as I was aware. So I checked to see how many troops they had, and it was more than me. So that means it's time to call the Bulgarians to bail us out once again. The Bulgarians were our staunch ally through all of this. The Georgians and the Bulgarians ride or die in this campaign. So helpful. We sieged down the capital of one of the rebelling vassals. This one was actually my family member as well, this duke that we just sieged down. And then it was battle time. The AI will always give up their siege to follow your army if you're headed towards an enemy army. And even if you're not, a lot of the times they'll just follow you and stick around you. So if you want the AI to finish a siege, never move your army. Don't try and reposition it while the AI is sieging. They will leave. Even if they have 1 day left on the siege, the AI is programmed to follow your lead to a fault. So just another tip for you there. Use that to your advantage. If you want the AI to siege something for you, just don't move. Okay? Don't move a muscle. The AI will blink, they'll flinch, they'll run, they'll ruin the siege. Not great. But we won a series of good battles against these guys in the hills in a defensive battle, and then also in the mountains against a really, really small stack. And then that didn't quite give us enough war score. We were at 99, and then as we were marching to the next capital, it ticked up to 100, and we threw everybody in the dungeon. But since all of them liked them, I didn't really want anything besides the 2 provinces that Kvarkvar's father had. So I revoked those 2, and then he had 1 more. You can see it in the top right of the screen right now, but we already had a duke that was up there that had that de jure, so I revoked 2 of his counties, and I transferred him underneath a duke, the Duke of Georgia up there. So we didn't have to deal with him anymore. He's the only one that didn't like us because we took his stuff. The rest of the vassals I just ransomed. I just took their gold. It was fine. So then we waged a war up north just to quell some border gore and take this random province that's just jutting out in the middle of our territory. And again, fighting up here, absolutely terrible. You take 2 steps in there with a stack that's greater than 500 and they're immediately starving. And the terrain is just not good for the kind of army composition that we're going for. So I really just wanted to dip in and dip out with this. You can see our troops coming back. Both stacks are starving. They have no supply left. So I just full gambled on having enough to get the sieges that we needed, and it somehow worked out. So that was a bit more intense for 1 county than we really needed. Now is where we have our last final hurrah here and things get a little interesting. I think we can dip in and take this duchy, assuming that the big kingdom to the east doesn't join in again. But, you know, lo and behold, every single Ashari ruler within a 10 million mile radius decides that this is their time. They all join and defend him. We take a bad battle because their men-at-arms are just way better than ours. The Mubarazun are just insanely good that they have access to, and they've got the camels, they've got the terrain, they've got everything. Thankfully, I'd already sieged down his capital, so I was able to get a white piece during that battle. And as soon as I saw that the Armenian principalities were in a civil war. So I was like, should I? And then I realized that the really old ruler that had great pox and got over great pox and lived until he was like 10,000 had finally kicked the bucket. So we lost 1 war and then immediately jumped into another one to finally try and usurp the right to call ourselves the King of Armenia. Now, we could have formed the Kingdom of Armenia a long time ago, but, you know, we're doing just a little bit of RP here, okay? So bear with me. It just feels a little weird to form the Kingdom of Armenia right next to the Armenian principalities. You know, you follow? So this war, like the first war against the Armenian principalities, absolute cakewalk. We walk in, we siege the provinces, no battles at all. I even hired mercenaries for this, and yet no battles. I felt robbed. This is supposed to be the grand finale. Like, what's going on here? So a little underwhelming of a conclusion here, but In the end, I had a bunch of fun with this playthrough. I think it was really satisfying to do. I had never played as the Apostolic Faith before, so it was something new for me. I think this is totally continuable. There's a lot of room to the south to expand, and we can look west, look at the Byzantines, look at Anatolia. There's so much more to do here. So if you liked the video, if you want me to continue it, let me know in the comments. I've been having an absolute blast the past few days, reading all of these comments, these lovely comments from people telling me how much they enjoyed the video, telling me how great I'm doing, and it really means a lot to read those. It gives me a lot of serotonin during the day. I'm constantly checking my phone to see if there's any more, so if you want more, feel free to stick around, hit the subscribe button. I'll be back with a lot more. Trust me, I got a lot in the pipeline coming up soon for you guys, so for a comment on this one, if you watched all the way through, let me know what your favorite starting character in CK3 is. I'm curious what everybody thinks. So, till next time, thank you all for watching. I'll see you then.